Hey folks, so another quick lesson today on the VRA, Voting Rights Act, most importantly, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So the Voting Rights Act is yet under attack yet again. This time, as I said, namely Section 2 of the VRA. Now, you will remember Section 5, it's been struck down. Section 4, they've already gone after Section 4 because it provides the formula for Section 5. They've struck that down. Now they're going after Section 2. The attack was originally brought by the voters of a small Louisiana town. So here's some history so we understand how we even got to Section 2 and why what is happening today is even more probably insidious. As I've already stated, originally this was brought by a small town in Louisiana. So in 1966, voters exercised a private right of action, which is a legal term for the ability of affected individuals or organizations to file a lawsuit. Because of this and the lawsuit Brown versus Jerome Post, this laid the foundation for years of litigation under Section 2 to expand access to the franchise of voting and expanding political power. Well, guess what? As I've said probably a million times now, the VRA is under attack yet again. And this is important to this because it is under attack yet again in the state of Louisiana. I'm going to give you some background on Brown versus Post. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading here. A black candidate, Harrison Brown, ran for parish school board and he defeated one Dorothy Provine. This was supposed to be a huge win in the general because no Republican thought it wise to appear on the ballot. The parish seat at this time was still segregated, so this was a big deal that a black person defeated and won this seat. This school board would also mark the first election that black people could cast the ballot without the restriction of Jim Crow laws. So the black man did clearly win the seat. By late November, however, a write-in candidate, one J.T. Fulton, somehow got a win over Brown by 269 votes in an all-black majority parish. Of the 512 people who voted, 510 were cast for Fulton, and all the ballots were cast by white folks. All-black majority district. This is what triggered Section 2 and caused black folks to say, no, we're not going for that. We're going to court. So what happened, they didn't use discriminatory tactics. They used those which on their face were more insidious. One Jerome Post, as I've mentioned his name already, and two deputies provided unsolicited absentee ballots to white voters at a nearby plantation and in an all-white nursing home, and did not do so for the black residents of the parish. Brown challenged the vote denial under the Voting Rights Act Section 2, which bars voting laws and practices that dilute or abridge the right to vote on the basis of color of one's skin. A federal district court judge in 1968 found that the absentee process, allegedly conducted in good faith, deprived black voters to their right to vote under the Constitution on Section 2, rendering the election invalid. A new election was held on April 9th of 1968, in which Fulton won again, most likely because it was tainted because of a purge of registered voters. Sound very 2025-ish, right? So, until 2021, that was when all of this seems to have changed. In a concurring opinion in a major voting rights rule, Neil Gorsuch called Section 2's private right of action an open question. This is working to undermine decades of judicial consent. This happens in 2022 when a district court of appeals in 2023 fully embraced this theory. The court decided that impacted parties, voters, and organizations couldn't bring lawsuits under Section 2. So, in May of 2025, a second ruling by a panel of the Eighth Circuit narrowed enforcement power further, preventing voters from suing under Section 2 offenses under another federal law that broadly protects against government violation of civil rights. That was a mouthful right there. This result was the Eighth Circuit saying that only the Justice Department can bring Section 2 claims in court, contradicting what has been a long-standing practice since 1960 when the VRA actually came about. This is a strategic attack led by the Supreme Court to quietly and slowly dismantle the entire VRA. How I want to tie this background to what is happening in Louisiana and Cleofield's district. First of all, it's happening in Louisiana. So the state of Louisiana is largely a black state, yet it only has one majority black voting district. So the map just doesn't make any sense here. So the map was challenged in federal court as a dilution of the votes of black people in the state in 2024, and the legislature was ordered to draw another black majority district, Cleofield's district. Louisiana versus Calais is currently the case going before the Supreme Court on October 15th. And the importance of this case simply is whether or not Section 2 is constitutional. And its constitutionality will really determine the power left in the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The case will also determine whether or not the second black district that Cleofield's now holds is a viable and legally drawn district and seat. So let's be clear. The challenge is coming from a self-identified group of non-African American voters, so white folks, claiming that the new map is an unconstitutional, racially gerrymandered violation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. So yes, the Supreme Court did fast-track this argument. Of course they did, right? It is going to be argued by Janae Nelson of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund because they want to once and for all settle whether or not Section 2 is constitutional. What is at stake here? The opposition wants this rejected, so Section 2 cannot be used to create majority-minority districts anywhere in the country. Voting rights advocates warn that a rule against this could be the end of the Voting Rights Act as we know it. So, I want you all to stay woke, friends. If anyone is from Louisiana and is watching this, pass it on. Please make sure that some way, somehow people know this. Call Cleofield's office to find out how you can stand in solidarity with his office. It's his district. It's needed. He is standing up for black folks in his district. So let's find out how we can support him. And please, y'all, we got to stay woke in these times. And also, did you all know it is September 30th? And in about an hour and 57 minutes, almost 2 hours. Oh no, my math is real bad there. But did y'all know that the government is going to shut down? This is so not funny. We are so living in the twilight zone. Anyway, folks, stay woke, stay vigilant. Make sure that you are, especially in Louisiana, make sure y'all calling Mike Johnson's office. Yeah, y'all boy up there in Northwest Louisiana that y'all voted for. Yeah, stay vigilant. Make sure y'all calling his office and letting him know how this shutdown is affecting you. Anyway, good night. I'm going to bed.